I love this. There's one story in your book that when I was reviewing it last week that was about, people having an understanding of why we tell the truth in business.
Right.
From a much more global perspective than just, well, it's the right thing to do. It actually had to do with the whole environment that it creates around your energetics of your life.
Right.
So that you're not having to, cover your lies. That's a lot of energy to put out there. And you had a whole other thing to say about it, and I can't remember all of it. I just remember I thought, this is lovely. This is moving in.
Thank you.
It's taking business into the consciousness realm in a very natural way. That's almost, you could say it's scientific, it's sociological, it's energetic, and it's, then it goes into the mystical. Which is really, I've been saying for years the universities in the United States should be really called fragmiversities because they broke all the knowledge in chunks. They never unified anything. That's what scientific materialism did. It just broke it all down into little boxes. And
and we don't teach our children any of these kind of consciousness technologies.
Mm-hmm. But that's coming in now. It's coming in now.
That's a little bit, certainly more than when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Well, the story I tell in the piece about honesty, and I have several pieces about honesty, looking at it from different perspectives. But ultimately, I argue it's effective. So, the example I give, and tell me if this is a chapter, is that there's a man sitting on a sofa, and his wife comes down the stair wearing a new dress. And she's very happy, and she's twirling around, and she says, "Honey, what do you think about this new dress?" And he goes inward, and he finds the truth, and he says, "I think it's terrible, and I think you put on a couple pounds, and as a matter of fact, I really don't like much of what you wear anyways." And it's the truth. It happens to be the truth, and he spends the night sleeping on the sofa, right? Okay, rewind, go back. The wife comes down the stairs. She's happy. She's smiling. She's wearing a dress. And she says, "Honey, how do I look?" And he looks at her, and he sees the woman he loves. He sees his partner. He sees the woman who puts up with his nonsense and who is there for him. He sees this radiant creature, and he says, "You have never looked more gorgeous, my love." And he arrives to work late the next morning, tired but happy. Those are both truths.
Yep.
But one is a higher elevated truth, and one is a very baseline truth. And when you act from a higher elevated truth, you're going to get better results. I mean, if you just want to look at the results-oriented, but you're certainly going to make people around you happy, and you're going to be happier. And so it's a question of stopping and saying, in this moment, what is my highest truth? And I'm not going to settle for a low-level truth at this moment. I'm going to search for the highest truth that takes into account other people and other factors besides just kind of my rational analysis of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're living in a very potent time with Wall Street greed and the whole thing that's going on with AIG and, the whole drama that's been going on for the last, 5 months with the economy falling apart and, Bernie Madoff and all of these things happening. And I'm curious what you would say to someone when they ask you, when do you think or when and how does a healthy enjoyment of abundance turn into materialism and greed?
Yeah.
There's a line there or something. Something has been crossed. Sure. What's your experience with that?
Right, because this can be a kind of a dualistic approach that leads you towards asceticism. That says I'm going to turn away from the bounty of good physicality because of the corruption, right?
And is this just a mind thing we put on it? Is greed like a mind idea? I mean, what do you think of that?
I ponder this because for you ask a rabbi a question, you never get a direct answer.
I love it. Actually,
you have to know this. I have to tell a story before I can answer. That gives me a chance to think. So for example, in Judaism, we have the laws of kashrut, the laws of keeping kosher, and people misunderstand what those mean very routinely. They think that it's some kind of denial. So when I don't eat that pork sandwich, when I don't eat that shrimp cocktail, that somehow I'm saying that it's bad, and I'm denying myself something that God made, and I'm limiting my ability to enjoy food, and that's how it's typically seen. Or it's typically seen as that's because that's just how it is. You don't eat this stuff, and don't even try. And if you do try, you're going to be punished, And that's not what it's about at all. It's about, before you take, stopping and remember where it comes from, right? That you didn't create this wealth. I didn't create the pork. I didn't create the beef. I'm buying it. I'm consuming it. But it came from somewhere else. And when I stop and put some consciousness around this, and the laws of kashrut are simply a mechanism for making you stop before you just put something in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say a little blessing over it. And by the time you've done that, if you've done it with intentionality, you're not very likely to hoard. You're not very likely to take it for granted. You're not very likely to eat more than you need to eat, because you're going to have more respect for yourself, and you're going to realize that the thing that you're ingesting for your enjoyment was not made by you, and is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you forget that, the little Bible story, Moses is standing on the verge of the Promised Land. And the Promised Land is not a physical place. It represents heaven on earth, as we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And he says to the people there, he says, look over there. He says, you're going to move into that place, and you're going to build houses, and you're going to make the desert bloom, right? Which is our job. That's making physicality consciousness, is making the desert bloom. And he says, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to look out and see all this beauty and say, look what my hands have made. And he says, in that moment you're going to lose it all, because you're taking credit for it and you're saying, look what I've done. So when you lose the sense of partnership, and when you really think that this is all me, I think that's when you start to hoard.
So you're losing your connection with the divine flow of all things. You're not really living in the grace of life. You're living more into the ego-centered ownership of life.
Yeah, exactly. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying. There's nothing wrong with money. I mean, having abundance is wonderful. The whole universe is filled with abundance. It's like, why do we need 1 trillion different kinds of insects? We don't. Why do we need? We could just have one kind of tree. I mean, I think about this. We could just have one kind of tree. We have thousands of trees. We could just have one kind of flower, because the universe operates on infinite abundance, and we should enjoy that kind of abundance as long as we remember where it came from.
So
have gratitude.
So these individuals who have kind of gone off the deep end, do you think that they're just basically extremely unhappy, vacuous individuals that have not understood this principle? Do you think that's what's going on?
Yeah. I don't know how they could be truly happy. I mean, not in the sense that I define happy. Happy is living a life of meaning. I don't know that they have. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know them. I don't want to say they, because I'm sure.
I know it's really a general question. It's kind of ridiculous, but
well, no, I hear you. I mean, there's all kinds of stories, and I even ask myself this question, Jeff. I say, if I was working at a bank, and my boss said to me, Alan, you know how you can make a lot of money? Sell these ninja loans, right? No income, no job. Sell these ninja loans. Don't worry about it. Everybody's doing it. It's an industry standard. If the person defaults on their house, we'll take it over, and that's fine. But they're not going to, because the value is going to increase next year. They can refinance and use that refinance to pay their mortgage, and it's going to go on like that forever. And you're going to make a huge paycheck by doing this. I don't know that I would say no. I don't know that I would say no to that. So I'm reluctant to judge those kind of people, because I think they saw a way to make money. Everybody told them it's fine, don't worry about it, everybody's doing it. And they probably...
There's a lot of that in the human race, by the way. Joe next door is doing it, so it's normal. There's an awful lot of that going on.